All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I think we're getting ourselves all set up here for our Seaside Chats today. We're going to give everybody a few minutes to come in, get settled, and then we will get started. So probably about another 30 seconds or so. Thank you guys for joining us for our Texas Sea Grant Seaside Chats. I am Dani Bailey. I am the oil spill specialist for Texas Sea Grant, but I also work with a team throughout the Gulf, and I'll kind of get into more of that detail as we get along. All right, looks like we're getting a bunch of people in. So I'm going to get started with that. Thank you guys for joining us. As I just said, I'm Dani Bailey. Glad to have you guys here this afternoon. I'm very casual with this webinar. So as we go along, if you have questions or clarifying points, please just put all of your questions in the Q&A box, and I'll be monitoring that as we walk through here. Before I get started talking, we do have a few post questions to kind of help me out analyzing this project. So if you could take a few seconds to just answer these questions that are about to pop up on your screen, that would be much appreciated. Alrighty, I think that's a pretty easy quiz. So while you guys are doing that, I think we are ready to get going. So I am Dani Bailey. I am your oil spill specialist for Texas Sea Grant. I think most of you are pretty familiar with these, with Sea Grant as a whole, but just as a little bit of background, we have 34 university-based programs. We are non-advocacy, science-based. We use research, education, and extension to kind of share our message, share the science in multiple different ways, help fund research, and help extension work. We have over 50 years of serving America's coasts as well as the Great Lakes. And we have 4 main areas that we try to work with. So healthy coastal ecosystems, sustainable fisheries and aquaculture, resilient communities and economies, environmental literacy, and workforce development. But we have a number of different topics within those groups. So you may have joined us for previous Seaside Talks, or hopefully you will join us for more in the future. And we'll go into all sorts of different topics and subjects related to all of these things. So as I said before, I'm an oil spill specialist. I work for Texas Sea Grant, but I am also part of the oil spill science outreach team. And so 10 years ago, last April, we had the Deepwater Horizon. So with the Deepwater Horizon, there was a large oil spill, and BP gave some money to the Gulf of Mexico Research Initiative, or gave money and then stepped back, left it as it is, and the Gulf of Mexico Research Initiative was formed. So that is $500 million that was given to this group to organize science and research and outreach related to the impacts of the Deepwater Horizon spill. So with that, Gomorrah was born, Gulf of Mexico Research Initiative, or Gomorrah, was born in 2010. And they have had lots of different impacts and everything. The biggest goal for Gomorrah was to improve society's ability to understand, respond to, and mitigate the impacts of petroleum pollution and related stressors of the marine and coastal ecosystems. Within that, there were a number of different core areas that they chose to focus on. So of course, being a very diverse community, they're all connected in some way, shape, or form. So we might have these cores split up for kind of ease of organization, but definitely don't forget that everything is integrated. Everything works with one another, impacts one another. It's a big, almost life cycle circle. So we have our core areas, and each of these different core areas has focused on one thing or another to try to understand what has happened to the Gulf of Mexico during the Deepwater Horizon. So the whole Gulf was impacted, and to make it a little bit easier to look at, we split it into these core areas. I'm not going to read them all out to you, that sounds boring, but we have all of those. And if anybody has any questions about those, please let me know. It has been 10 years since Gomorrah was founded and since the oil spill. And so what we're really trying to focus on is a synthesis and legacy project. And so we're taking these core areas and trying to understand and trying to collaborate and collect all of the science that has been done over these past 10 years and really share it in as many ways as possible. So there's a number of different scientific publications, there's a number of different consortiums around the Gulf that are focused on this work. And then you have my lovely oil spill outreach team that is here to here to try and share all of this science, all of this research, all of this findings over the past 10 years with a non-academic audience. So you have a large group of people, and so we have specialists all throughout the Gulf of Mexico. So, sorry for this crabbling, so you can hear my dog. She wants to join in. We've got myself in Texas. We have Emily Mong Douglas in Louisiana. We have Steve St. Pierre as our manager, our excellent communicator, Tara Skelton, Missy Partika, and all of them are Mississippi, Alabama Sea Grant. And then we have Monica Wilson, who is in Florida. So we each have our own specializations, but we work together as a team and we work throughout the Gulf and with the Sea Grant program, or as part of the Sea Grant program, to really try to share the oil spill research and everything that we found out and know throughout the whole Gulf, as well as elsewhere, as we can talk about later. So we have a process that's cyclical in nature. We meet with the community, we meet with scientists, we meet with resource managers, anyone locally or throughout the Gulf, wherever we might be, who's got an opinion or questions or an interest in something. We like to say anyone who relies on a healthy Gulf. So whether it be recreational, whether it be economical, whether it be industry, whatever it might be, if you rely on a healthy Gulf, we want you to be a part of this system. And so we get people together and we try to understand what the questions might be, what the issues are, is there research that needs to be done? We kind of talk with the community, and then we take our government reports and peer-reviewed journals and we synthesize this information. We take out all the scientific jargon and we make it easier to understand, and we share that in many different ways and forms. But once we share that, we want your feedback on it. And so we present all of this information and then we start our cycle all over again. What have we learned? Okay, great. Now what else do you need to know? And we continue with the whole process so that we're always trying to keep up with the information that's coming out and the questions that people who rely on a healthy Gulf might have. So it is this process of just going around in circles and trying to answer questions, but it also really helps us build this community connection. We want to be pretty much boots on the ground with you. We want your input, your feedback, your questions, and then how can we help you? And then once we get some of those answers, okay, what's our next step? How do we keep going from there? As Sea Grant, as the oil spill outreach team, we work with a wide variety of audiences. You may fit into one of these, you may fit into more than one of these. It's great to be able to be a part of a community that's so diverse and has so many different opinions and questions and interests. And we really get the chance to bring these people together and kind of figure out what we need and then move forward together as a community. So all of your Sea Grant people work with a variety of audiences. And if you do have any questions, whether it's on oil spill or other things, please contact your Sea Grant people. We're here to help you get whatever information you might need. And as I just said before, if we don't have it, we'll figure out a way to get it. We'll ask the scientists, we'll comb the papers, we'll move forward from there. So as an oil spill and outreach team, we have done a number of different seminars, workshops, publications, fact sheets to get this information out. So we have a variety of one-page fact sheets as well as more in-depth 8-page bulletins, and they cover a lot of the questions that we were getting from that initial feedback. So as the oil spill was happening and as it progressed, people were scared to trust the science or just got a lot of information from the media and just didn't know where to go. And so when we sat down and talked with them, we said, hey, what are your top questions? What are your concerns? What are you interested in? Like, what do we really need to solve? And so from there, we got a lot of bulletins and fact sheets that also expanded into seminars and workshops. We wanted to be able to spread this information as widely throughout the Gulf, bring the scientists to you, as well as workshop with people what's working, what's not working. We have animated videos, which are adorable. And I think a really great way to connect on social media. So hopefully you'll see more of those in the future. We work as science communicators. So we always like to give out tips as to how you can best communicate your science. We've been able to work with a number of different groups, including the National Academies of Science and Medicine, which was great. And then if we have other resources, we also put them online as well. So you're actually able to look back at all of the things that we have done as a team over the past about 6 years or so on our website. And we'll get there. All of our seminars are saved, all of our bulletins and fact sheets are up there. If you also need any of those for any reason, please contact me. You can have them for free. We are more than happy to send you a box of, let's talk about sea turtles and oil spills, perhaps, whatever might be in your wheelhouse. So this is just an example of some of the publications that we have. They are all on our website, and we cover a wide variety of topics. So as I said, we have a number of different specialists throughout the Gulf. We each have a slightly different background. And with those backgrounds, we were all able to combine our science and communication knowledge and your questions to create these oil spill bulletins and really cover the questions and topics that you all had. So some of the things that we have created other than that or upcoming is the synthesis information that I was talking about before. And while we were doing that, we wanted to have takeaways for people that train the trainers. It's like, if you need to teach other people in your community, let's synthesize this information even more. So we call it train the trainers. So there's some main takeaways. So we would share, or will share, this is upcoming, to be shared, main takeaways from all of our publications. So you'll be able to get short, sweet, digested facts from each of our publications. And then you can take this information and share it with outreach professionals, educator coordinators, within our Sea Grant group, wherever it might need to go. We want to make sure that this information isn't just a giant pile of paper, overwhelming amount of words. It's useful to you. And so this allows us to kind of make it into almost bite-sized science and share this oil spill research and all this other Gomorrah research that's been happening over 10 years with whatever target audience you might have. So that's one of our things that are upcoming. We also have a wide variety of publications, as I have mentioned before. I just picked a few. I just wanted to go through some of our main points. And this is also, if you have questions through any of these, please feel free to ask. One of our top publications that we made was frequently asked questions about the Deepwater Horizon spill. These are our top 5. And so our main points that we're really pulling out of these, and these would be what you would see in Train the Trainer, is that oil is composed of a mixture of compounds. This crude oil can enter your marine and coastal environments through man-made activities. We also have a variety of natural seeps throughout the Gulf of Mexico. So when we think of an oil spill, we always think of the man-made side of it. But the environment is prepared to deal with natural oil that is already there. The Gulf of Mexico produces 55% of the US oil. So we take in a lot from elsewhere, but the Gulf of Mexico is a large producer of this oil. Oil breaks down and weathers over time. So there's different ways to break down oil. It might be sunlight, heat. There are natural microbes, just like we have those natural seeps, we've got natural microbes that are breaking it down. So it's part of the normal ecosystem. When we have a spill, it's a lot larger. So then our microbes can start to break it down, but we have to figure out how to balance out that impact to the environment and what it's doing to all of the other things. And then in the past, there was a use of dispersants, and we've got multiple publications that cover that topic, the discussion of safety, as well as how it works. I think those are really interesting. As well as when you have oil, if it shows up on your beaches or shows up somewhere and you're kind of surprised, oil has a unique chemical signature. So it's almost like you can fingerprint it. So if you take it into your chem lab, you are usually able to identify where it came from, what the source was. And that really helps us understand where it's coming from, what the compounds actually are, and the impacts that it might have. So those are our quick bite-sized science facts of the 5 most frequently asked questions in the Deepwater Horizon spill. Another one that is very popular is our boater's guide. We actually have this translated into Spanish and Vietnamese as well. And this is to help boaters who are out on the water handle any oil or fuel spills. So what do you need on your boat ahead of time so that you're prepared? What happens if you see something? What happens if it's your boat? Whatever it might be, this kind of largely covers all of those oil and fuel spills with your personal boats, so that you're ready to be handling, or you're ready and feel prepared to handle any situation that might happen before it happens. We also have one topic as where did the oil go? So you can see on the bottom image, a lot of the Gulf had some impact of oil, which is why our team likes to share this information throughout the Gulf. We want to be able to deal with what are the response actions that are happening. Once this happened, who responded? What happened? How did those responders handle the things? Natural processes that are already going on before and after the spill. Like I said, we do have natural seeps, but when we have a man-made spill, how does that balance the natural processes, and what other natural processes does that impact? Pathways to the seafloor. While they were trying to close off the oil leaking into the Gulf of Mexico, some of it was lower down on the seafloor and some of it made its way to the surface, which means that you've got oil throughout your water column, and it can either be handled on the surface or it might have different ways to make its way back down to the seafloor. So it's going to be a pathway from the surface of the water to the bottom, and then what happens to the oil at the bottom of the seafloor, as well as how it gets there, where the pathways. Another major question for a lot of people was, is it safe? Are we safe? Are beaches safe? Is the seafood safe? That was one thing we really wanted to cover and cover it well. And so we have one that is examining health risks from the Deepwater Horizon spill. So this is our bulletin that asks, is it safe to go to the beach? Can I play in the sand? Can I sit on the sand? Is it safe for me to go swimming in the water? And then what about the seafood? Can I eat the seafood? All of these are a huge part of our Gulf community, and people had lots of questions about it. And so in this and one other bulletin that we created, we cover a lot of that information. So beaches could be exposed to oil, but it was looked at in a number of studies that it shouldn't have a negative impact on humans or a negative effect on humans. Water was also analyzed as well for harmful oil chemicals and the dispersant used. The total amount of harmful oil chemicals was actually 10 times lower than any level known to harm human, or the levels known to harm human. And then the highest level of the dispersant was 100 times lower than the levels to cause harm to the human liver. And so this information was collected and shared so that people are still able to use their beaches safely and are comfortable knowing that these chemicals can't harm them or aren't out there to harm them. Seafood was also something tested. This was tested by both state and federal agencies in a variety of different ways. It was found by the Food and Drug Administration, so that is the FDA, who checks all of our safety for food, that oil in seafood was 400 times lower than what the FDA considers an unsafe level, and that the dispersants used in that situation were not likely to build up in any of the seafood, or super low, so it wouldn't be impacting human toxicity. So great news. It might impact a lot of things, but we're pretty safe with that. Studies show we're pretty safe with that. Next, we have impacts from the Deepwater Horizon oil spill on the Gulf of Mexico fisheries. So when I first started, I said we're all interconnected, and we come back to this bulletin and this fact sheet being very interconnected with everything that's going on. Fisheries is a huge part of the Gulf of Mexico, recreationally, commercially, and people wanted to know what was happening with that. So there were different impacts, and it really depends on your interest at different levels, whether it be an individual level, a community level, a population level, whatever it might be. We tried to be able to cover all of those different levels, all of the different topics. There's lots of research out there. This is also one of those synthesis topics that we'll be getting to later on in the year. So we will have even more information come out. As Gomorrah researchers have been doing work over these past 10 years, they've really created and discovered new techniques that are able to tell us a little bit more about those details, whether it be individual or population-wise, and then talking about how all of those factors and puzzle pieces fit back together and ultimately affect our coastal ecosystem. So there's a lot there to digest. With all of that information, I'm going to do this lovely shameless plug for our website. It has all of the things that I just talked about. It has different publications, it has fact sheets, it has videos, it has recordings of all of our past seminars, webinars since we've been COVID. We've got resources, communication tips, all sorts of different things related to oil spill outreach and how we can share that information. So if you have any interest at all, please go check out all of our resources at gulfseagrant.org/oil-spill-outreach, and we'll be able to share all of this information. I will be happy to take any questions and discuss any further information that you might need or want resources to. I also want to do a plug for our team. As we are completing our 10-year synthesis, each of the Gulf states is having a celebration of the Gomorrah research that's been done there. So Texas was September 25th, so you can actually go back online and watch that. We have Florida's coming up on Friday, and we have, let's see, Florida's, and then we have Mississippi's, and we have Alabama's, and Louisiana's. So up until the beginning of November, there will be a wide variety of highlights of all of this research about the oil spill that Gomorrah has participated in and reviewed over the past 10 years. So I'm going to give you guys a second. If you have any questions, please type them into our question and answer box. I'm going to ask Drew to pull up our final feedback question. So like I said before, we work in a cyclical nature. We want to know your opinion and how we can improve our Sea Grant programs. So if you wouldn't mind answering a few of our questions that we're asking so we can get a little bit more feedback and evaluate these programs. And then if you do have any of those questions, please just type them in. And I'm here to talk about that. And I'll give you guys a few minutes to do that. While I do that, I'm also going to pull up my contact information. So again, I am Dani Bailey. I am your Texas Sea Grant Oil Spill Specialist. There's my email and my phone number, as well as our Texas Sea Grant website. I am only part of a team. We have a wonderful team that is involved in many different aspects of taking care of the Gulf, taking care of the Texas communities. And so if you have questions, please check out our website. Please connect with your extension agent or your Sea Grant agent, and let us know how we can help you, how we can help our community. I'm not seeing any questions. Any questions popping up on your end, Drew? Just my end? All right. You guys are a quiet bunch today. Well, perfect. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. If you do happen to think of questions or anything else, please feel free to contact me and reach out. We have lots of resources. We're here to help make our communities better. So with that, I will say thank you, everybody, and join us next week. Next week? We have more Seaside Chats coming up. So join us for those in the future. We're looking forward to it. Thanks, y'all.